Morning. How are you all?
Morning, Peter.
Good morning. This is always the very awkward part of webinars. When you see people and it's not, you can jump in and say hi. All right. Well,
Hi.
hi.
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning. You're all so programmed because of your children. If you unmute without being called on, you're going to get kicked out of class. Nate has everybody well trained. Some parents disagree, I'm sure. If you want your video, if you're okay with turning your camera on, I would be so grateful. And if you don't want to, that's okay. I just love seeing people. Hi, Emily. Jamie, Tamara, Kelly, Roxanne. Emily's here. Hi, Emily. From Gilbert. Let's see your family, Emily. Anyone home? Hi, Natalie.
I'm here with my daughter. I'll have her wave.
All right.
Do you want to say hi?
Oh, so cute. She's a little camera shy.
A little camera shy.
Oh, good. We've got a dad here. Hi, Alan. Welcome. Yes. Hi, Tim. Tim is back in Idaho. He was with us all week this week. We had some fun together. Fun, right? It is fun, though. It's hard work, but we have a lot of fun doing it. Tim asked me this week, it's like this every day? Do you enjoy what you do every day? Indeed, we do. We'll give another minute. We'll give just one more minute. You're here on time. You should get an extra prize, right? But we'll give one more minute to let some others join. I'm really excited about today. I'm really excited about the things that we're going to talk about because we have some really important questions to ask you and some decisions to make, and they're really significant. They're not just small things like where should we put this button or what should we call this thing. They're real significant questions that actually might make some of you nervous, but we have to ask those questions so that we can improve throughout the year. They might make Nate nervous. That's who I was thinking of when I when I was thinking about that, because Nate has to execute all of the crazy ideas that we come up with or that you come up with.
It keeps things fun. Never a dull moment.
That is so true. One of the really important things about, I guess we'll just get started and people will come on as we start this little opening here. One of the important things about the webinars moving forward is that they will be an opportunity for you to weigh in on some of the most important questions that we have about how we do what we do, why we do what we do, how we're doing. We'll have very specific, we do have very specific questions. We're going to dive in deep to a few things here. And I'm going to share my screen so that you can see some of the questions that we're going to be exploring today. These are some of the big questions. We're going to get to these. We're not going to start with these, but we are going to get to them. And I wanted to show you at the beginning some of these questions. We're going to be talking about later on. We're going to be talking about explore time, before or after. That came up in a previous webinar, and I want to bring it up again. Now that you've had a couple weeks to experience LiftEd, and your students have had a chance, and you understand exactly what that is now, I want to ask this question again because I have a feeling the response will be different. It might not be, but I want to ask the question at least. We're gonna ask a question of, this is the one that makes Nate nervous. I want to find out how you feel about this all in the AM versus in the early PM. And again, we're just asking questions. It doesn't mean we're making changes, but if enough feel strongly about something, then we will make some changes the best we can. We're going to talk about class time. How often is 4 days a week too much? For how many? Should it be at a different time? Too much for different levels. Level 1, is that too long, the class time? Do we need parent training? Is that something that we should be doing? Parent training. We have a lot of resources for students, but what about parents? And if so, how often? And then I've got a big question about content, if it's on point. And I've got an example that I want to share, and so we'll circle back to that. First off, though, I do want to give a huge shout out to our team. And this might sound self-promoting, but it's okay. We have an incredible team. They're just awesome. The support team, Molly and Nellie and James and everybody else who's not part of the support team, who has been a part of the support team the last couple of weeks, Tim and Carrie and Deanna and Anna Lee, they've just all done such a tremendous job. So huge thanks to them, especially James. He's really stepped up. Is James here on the call? If James is here, I really wanted James for you to meet this young prodigy of a homeschooler. Never went to a day of homeschooling in his life.
Peter, he's not on a call. He's fixing an issue.
Oh, good. Well, maybe he'll jump on in a little bit. I also wanted to just thank the content creation team from the studio. They're doing so much good work there, and just working so hard to make sure that the content is as good as they can get it right now. They have a lot of dreams, the content production team, and it's going to improve in significant ways this year. But it has started with such beauty and precision. They've implemented a lot of change from last year to this year. And so for some of you I see here who were with us last year and the year before, you would likely agree that it's pretty significant, these changes, but they're not done. In fact, they're just getting started. The last group is the software development team. They're a great group. We don't work with them directly as much because they're a contracted group. Well, I shouldn't say directly, that was the wrong word. We don't work with them internally. They're a contracted group, but they're tremendous people and doing a lot of good work. So I just wanted to thank them. I want to remind you that this is a pilot year, and I know you all knew that going into it, but sometimes I wonder, did they really think it was going to be like this? I mean, it really is a pilot. It's pretty raw in some places, in some ways, and now you're understanding what that means to us. A pilot is an opportunity for us to learn in significant ways, and we're going to be learning a lot. There will be lots of bumps in the road. There have been already. We just appreciate you coming along with us. The studio content style is going to change pretty significantly. How the camera moves and tracks the teacher. The software design, the functionality is going to change significantly, and it has over the first 2 weeks already. You've probably experienced a lot of, you've seen the change in the metamorphosis of this piece of software that we're building. Well, we're just getting started there as well. LiftEd is, what you're seeing is a very minimal, they call it a very minimal viable product. And some of you would say, well, it wasn't even viable. Day one, it didn't work. It really didn't. And by day two, maybe half of you got it to work, and most of you are getting it to work now. So it was very, very minimal in its minimal viable product. It's important that you understand that you can be creative with this. You don't have to do it the way that we're doing it. Many of you are figuring that out already, and you're a pretty creative group. That's the way homeschoolers are. They have strong feelings. They're a very bright group. They are very creative, and they'll figure out a way to make something work. It's something that I learned very early on in my career here at American Heritage School, working with homeschool moms. Nothing that we produce will be perfect for any homeschool family. Our hope is that we get it as close as we can and that we make it something that's viable for as many families as possible. Tell you a little story. When I started here at American Heritage School 12 years ago, almost 12 years ago now, the very first year, I didn't know anything about homeschooling. I came from public school background. Education, even for me, was different. Learning in the classroom was very difficult for me. I love to learn with my hands on. So this production-based learning that Tim Hall is bringing to us is, I'm probably biased, but I love it. And you're going to see a lot more of that. And so my way of learning was just being with people, asking questions. And so I spent the first 6 months just learning from homeschool families, doing dozens of observations and focus groups, thousands of surveys, going to conferences, and of course I've learned a lot more since. But I came back after about 6 months, and I was meeting with the head of school, Grant Beckwith, and I was kind of giving Grant a summary of the work I had done and what I had learned, and I said, I think I can reduce this to 2 things. I think I've learned 2 things. I've learned that, well, there he is. He just jumped in. Hi, Grant. I said, I've learned these 2 things. I've learned that American Heritage School has a place for these Latter-day Saint homeschoolers. They do what they do for almost the same reasons we do what we do here on campus. And so your objectives and your motivations align perfectly with ours. Now we do it differently here on campus than you do in the home. And so that took a lot of additional learning and trial and error. And we did that with Family School. And many of you are familiar with that product. And we're doing it again with LiftEd. But I said, I learned one other thing too. You meet a homeschooler and you've met one homeschooler. And it is true. There are many ways to do this job. There are many strong opinions that you have, as you should. Grant said once, he said, you put together education and religion and children and money, and you get a lot of emotion there. You get a lot of passion, a lot of excitement. Is that right, Grant? Is that how it was said? Did I miss something?
Those are 4 things that people care the most about, right? Their family, their children, their faith, education, and money. This has all of those things all together. So they care a lot about this. All right.
Well, a few months later, sorry, it's going to be a little bit more of a story today. Hope that's okay. A few months later, this idea, after doing all this research, this idea of a family school came about. And it became very clear that we could produce something for Latter-day Saint homeschoolers that would help them. That would help them to teach multiple children of various ages together, and do it in a way that strengthened faith like they wanted it, like they were trying so hard to do it on their own. And I remember that first year when we launched Family School. It was 12 years ago this last month. Now it's September. We launched it in August of 2012. So it's kind of an important time of the year for us. It's an exciting anniversary for us even. And I remember that, I'm going to switch my view since I'm recording. 1 second. I don't like this because then I have to look at myself when I'm talking. I'd rather be looking at all of you, but it makes for a better recording to do it this way. Anyway, when we launched this in August 2012, there were 175 families who signed up for Family School. And I remember thinking a couple months into it, the same thing I felt last week after 1,100 students started with LiftEd. I remember thinking this group was brought to us. This group was meant to help us this first year. This is the perfect group who could weather the storm and navigate the bumps and the many changes that a pilot year presents. I remember so clearly feeling the same thing last week that I did that month when we sent them these printed materials. And there's probably somebody here who was in that group and who remembers this. But we sent out a quarter of it, and it was really rough. and it required a ton of editing. And we sent out the second quarter, and it looked quite a bit different than the first quarter. And the third quarter looked quite a bit different than the first and second quarter. And by the fourth quarter, we had it figured out. We really did. And it was nice, but because of you, because of them, right? Because of these families. And I remember the very first day last week on Monday, feeling the same way. At the end of the day, I felt totally exhausted. Tim and everybody who was helping that day was completely exhausted. And we felt like nothing had gone right. And we got on Facebook and we started reading comments and we started looking at our emails. And I remember thinking, these people are excited about what we have and they're grateful for it. What are they grateful for? It didn't work today. Nothing worked. But you had this ability to look through all of that and see what we were doing and see how we were doing it. And so I just want to thank you for that. And we're grateful for you. It's going to be a very exciting year with things that I can't even get into right now coming and how it will evolve. I wish I had more time to share with you, but I can't. I really can't take more time than that. That all said, we want you to know that you don't have to stay with this. We needed in the beginning, we needed a group of families that was willing to take a risk with us and that was willing to commit to a year of this experience. But if this is not working, we don't want you to feel that you have to keep doing it. You don't. You can cancel the service. You can go back to family school. You can go to anything that you want. We just needed to not tell you that until now, until you had tried it, until you had given it, until you had committed to it, and then experienced it. We want the right group of families. It really doesn't matter how many families and how many students we have using LiftEd this year. We will have plenty to give us the feedback that we need to make this what we need to make it for hundreds of thousands of students. And it will be used by hundreds of thousands of students in many, many countries around the world. And so if this isn't right for you, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. In fact, it might mean that there's a method of learning in your home that you've grown accustomed to, that you really like, that's better than this for you. And if that's the case, do that. It also doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with us. It just means that it's different. And it was designed to be different. That was the intent, that we're building this. And as a reminder, we are building this for a family who really wants to have a piece of the teaching burden lifted from them, that really wants their students to be connected with other students in ways that they can't right now, that it's difficult for them. And so there's this lift for parents and this lift for students, and it's all centered around connection that LiftEd provides. But it doesn't mean that's the kind of lift that you need. And if it's not, then we want you to know that you can cancel your membership to LiftEd. And some families have, not many, but some families have. And we've really encouraged them to do that as they come to us and said, this really isn't working for us. I do want to reiterate that things will improve significantly, as they have in the last two weeks. You've seen that kind of improvement, and it will continue to improve at that pace. And we're going to talk about a few of those things here. Okay, let me look at my notes and make sure that I've covered all the things that I need to in the beginning. Let me just share with you some of those immediate improvements, in fact, and then I'm going to ask you for some help. And then we're going to get on to your questions and listening from you. We've got a bunch of polls built, and this is going to be a fun webinar to have, where all of you can contribute. We don't in a way that we can let each of you contribute. I love these polls in Zoom. Again, these are the big questions that we're going to cover here in just a few minutes. And they're going to be fun to talk about. These are the most immediate improvements. I wanted you to see them. You can't see this list that we have. You can't see the entire list. I could show it to you, I guess, but I've decided not to. The list is about 150 lines long. There are over 150 items that the development team is working on. I took the top 10 that I think are the most significant. Some of these will be fixed today. In fact, several of them will be fixed today. That's how fast they're moving through these improvements. The messages that you're leaving for your students, I have to admit, I'm not in love with the golden nuggets. I love the treasure box on the path. Somebody has another name for golden nuggets, the messages that you leave. I love the symbolism of golden nuggets being inside of a treasure chest that the students open. It seems a little elementary to me for your middle schoolers and eventually high schoolers. So in the chat, if you'd like to make some suggestions there. But I think it's an improvement on Secret Admirer. There were some people who felt like Secret Admirer was a little creepy. So we decided to just change it quickly to something that we thought of, but you might have some ideas. We want to get the human voice into these audio playbacks, and they're working on that as well. We do need some help. So if you have a good voice and you'd like to volunteer, I'll show you how you can volunteer in just a second. Hotspot exploring. There's going to be a new interactive called Hotspot that's presented to every student every lesson. It will allow the student to optionally dive deeper. It's not required, but we want to start bringing in that autonomous agency-based learning option into the learning experience each day. Cameras on before the review game starts. They'll be able to start 10 minutes before class, before explore time. Their cameras will be on and they can talk back and forth and get to know each other better. We want to replicate the experience that students have when they walk into a classroom in a brick and mortar campus. And that only can happen if the cameras are on. And so we'll add that here pretty soon. Faster video processing. We learned that our videos they're not being compressed right. And so that's why it's taking a little while for the videos to upload after your children leave them. That's going to improve pretty significantly. Upload and redo video responses. A lot of you have asked for that. You submit a video, especially in the record section, and you want to redo it. You can't do that right now, but you will be here in the next couple of days. We're working on better optimization for iPads. For some reason, this isn't working as well as it needs to on an iPad, and many of you have iPads. And so that's really important to us. Parent monitoring of student messaging, that's always been in the plan, but we moved it up on the priority list because we need parents to be able to see the correspondence that's going back and forth between students. We love that they're corresponding, that they're messaging each other. That's the idea. We just need parents to be able to see those messages. And lots of other parent settings. A few of them are opting out of the messaging, opting out of the review game altogether. Some of you don't like that. This has always been the case for some parents whose children might have anxiety about the review game, or it's too fast for them, it's not right for them, to be able to opt out of that, being able to opt out of messaging altogether. Public-private video settings. Maybe there's a record video that you really like, but you don't want to set it, you don't want everybody to be able to see it in their Explore Time group. That needs to be able to be set to private as well. Question time limits in the review game. We're working on that so that it's age appropriate. It will never be perfect for everyone. There's a time that we have to set each question. And so we just have to decide what's the right amount of time. Some children will feel like it's too fast and others will feel like it's way too slow. So we have to go somewhere in the middle, but we're working on improving that as well. Okay, lastly, before we get to these big questions that we're going to be discussing and we're going to be letting you weigh in on. And Grant may want to share here as well. In fact, I'd love Grant to share a little bit. I want to ask you for your help, and I want you to just consider how you might be able to help support this effort. LiftEd is a piece of a much bigger vision for AHS worldwide. It's a 4-year capital campaign or capital requirement or capital need for the school to be able to build and complete the vision that we have for AHS worldwide. We raised $5 million last year to be able to produce the software, to start building the content, to start executing the math and language arts program, to start and to continue to expand the offering for AHS online middle and high school students, to start moving down the path of building a network of family education centers that are supported by a school, that are family-centered, that are community oriented and that help this become something that just launches into an in-person experience. All along the way, from the very beginning, from when the school was founded in 1970, by the goodness of the Verlin and Shirley Anderson family, who donated their resources to be able to start that little chapel school in Pleasant Grove, to the God Family Country Foundation, the Swim family, Gaylord and Laurie Swim, who donated this land that we're on right now, and the money to build the building that I'm sitting in right now. To the people who helped start this American Heritage Worldwide outreach and who have helped make it come to pass and build Family School and build LiftEd. Through it all, there's been this spirit of sacrifice. It is part of the culture of American Heritage School. And the more you learn about that spirit of sacrifice, the more you realize that it is sacrifice that is a gift to us. The things that happen because families, people sacrifice, open the windows of heaven. It's happened over and over and over again. Grant says often, we don't say this is the Lord's work. We seek the will of the Lord, and we do. And we see his help. We see that unseen hand moving it forward in ways that we know we couldn't do on our own. But why am I asking you and all those who will watch this recording? We're asking you because we know that if you give, that if you help, that things will happen that wouldn't otherwise happen. We've always had the resources we need to keep moving it forward. Sometimes they've come in the last hour. Oftentimes they come in the last hour. And I think it's because it's these kinds of things that happen in the last hour. We get serious about our commitment. We get serious about how much we care about something. We get serious about asking him for help. And we get serious about how we can help. Maybe it's too much to ask, but I've asked our entire team, and I'll ask you too. If you can just fast for us this Sunday, if that's the way that you help, and by fasting, then that would be tremendous for us. I know, because I know that the power of fasting opens these windows and brings heaven's help. I've seen it in my own personal life, and I've seen it here at the school. Maybe you want to help volunteer, and I'm going to grab a link right here of a couple dozen ways that you could help volunteer. We've never made these kinds of opportunities available to families, but we have the kind of team that could actually manage, that can actually work with a group of volunteers in a highly productive way. And I bet you there's a number of things on this list, if you want to click on that form there, that you can check of ways to volunteer. If you'd like to make a donation, that's especially helpful right now. We need funds. We need funds to keep moving at the pace that we're moving right now. We want to keep moving the way that we're moving. And many things are hastening, and I can't go into all the details of those. I wish I could share more about that, but we simply don't have the time. But there are many things happening that are making it possible for us to bring these resources forward, not just to you, but to many, many more families and in many other languages and for other countries. As you consider, let me just actually share my screen again so that you can see how to donate. If you want to make a donation, you can go to, from LiftEd now on your parent dashboard, you're going to see a news and announcements. Just help us build LiftEd. And if you click on this image or this link, it'll take you to this page, and you can just make a donation, a single donation, or you can make it a monthly donation. If you want to make a donation that is more than this, then please type in other, or you can call us, and we'd love to talk with you. There's another way that you can help. Many of you know people who have the resources and who are interested in this kind of thing that we're doing, and who would be great for us to talk with. If you know of a family that we can talk with who would care about this program and who has the ability to give, then let us know. You can just email me. You can connect with us any way through support. We'd love to talk with you, and we'd love to kind of share a much broader vision that we share with some of our major donors. Grant, is there anything that you'd like to add to that?
I think that's beautiful, Peter. I maybe just one thing. We know that you are donating just by virtue of the fact that you're participating in this pilot, your time, your feedback. We do, and I spend a fair amount of my time with advancement for the school's strategy and horizons and capital campaign projects. And I will say, one of the things that is so motivating to large financial supporters, that is to say major donors, is when they see lots of people giving what they can. And I'm talking about money now. If we have a conversation with a major donor next week and we've got 0 people giving to the AHS Worldwide program, they kind of scratch their head and wonder, are we the only ones that have our shoulder to this wheel? But when they see a list of people who have given $5, $50, 5 cents, I've got a jar in my office here. I'll just show you this picture. This is a jar of pennies, nickels, and dimes that I keep on my desk. These were given by students to help build one of the buildings on this campus that they so hoped that we could build. And this spoke volumes to major donors, right? So anyway, if you or someone you know can make a small financial contribution, it can make a large emotional impact on others who are watching that.
Thank you, Grant. Anything that you can do will be helpful. Fasting, funds, volunteering, feedback like this, we will be tremendously grateful. Okay, let's get to these polls. Oh, I did want to mention before we get to these polls that coaching, we're gonna have a discussion about coaching in our next webinar. I want to wait because the coaches are improving so much right now. I felt like it's kind of unfair to pick apart coaching right now. There's a lot of places where coaches can improve, and they will. They're young, and there's some important questions that I really do want to ask. But as I thought about asking those questions about coaches and some other ideas that we have, I just felt that we needed to wait a couple more weeks before we have that conversation about coaches. So I'm not avoiding it. I just want to wait for a couple more weeks if that's okay. All right, the first question up. We talked about this in a previous webinar, and I don't know that I articulated it very well, and I don't know that we would have been able to understand that very well together anyway. Now that you've used LiftEd for a couple of weeks and your students have been on it, I want to come back to this question of explore time, being before class time or after class time. Angie brought this up to me, and Angie Blad, we were working together this week, Angie and Tim and Emily and Ashley, and we had this discussion about how we felt. And I'm going to actually bias this a little bit, this poll. Okay, so I'm going to advocate something that I want you to consider, and then we'll ask the poll, and you can weigh in and see how, and we'll see how you feel. And maybe you feel differently collectively. We felt that explore time right before class time didn't leave any time for the most important time, which is what they're doing, the project time, right? The working time, the record time that we call it. And students are trying to cram in between explore time and this class time that falls right after explore time, their record. And we don't want students to feel rushed that way. We don't want them to feel anxious that if they don't get it done, they won't be able to share. And in fact, more often than not, the coaches are talking about the record assignments from the day before now, because they haven't had a lot of time to work on those during explore time. So the question is, why do we even have explore time before class time? Why don't we start with class time, talking about what they learned and what they did the day before, and then right after class time, they go into the next explore experience. They learn new content that they'll be talking about and working on that day at various times throughout the day, and then talking about the next morning. So it feels a little backwards to me. It feels backwards, at least it felt backwards to the group that I was talking with, anecdotally, 4 or 5, right? And so I want to start with this poll and just ask you how you feel about that. Now that you've experienced explore time before class time, is it right? Is that the right idea? So go ahead and just share your vote here on this particular question.
Peter, I have a question first about that.
Yeah, please.
So I know in the previous webinar, we talked about how if we do the explore time first, it would be on, oh my gosh, now my brain. It wouldn't be on the same day's topic. So would that still be the case if they did class first and explore time would be for the next day?
That's exactly right. That's exactly what we're saying. So we're saying that class time each morning is about what they studied the day before. And not only what they studied, but what they worked on. So when the coaches are talking with them about what did you do, they've actually had time to do it. And they can demonstrate what they've learned. They can talk about what they've done. See, class time for us is not a time for kids to come and have fun, although it is really fun, right? We have a good time with the kids. It really is a time for us to focus on what they've done. And so if we're focusing on what students do to learn, then we feel like students need more time to do so that we can celebrate it, so that we can acknowledge and recognize them for the work that they've done. And so that hour is focused more on that experience as opposed to even diving deeper. We dive deeper, and we'll talk about the principle that we reasoned out of that academic experience the day before, but really we want to focus on the projects that they've been working on. It's a good question. Thanks, Linda. It's good to see you. Okay.
I had a question.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So we're in level 1, and obviously I think our group is the one that struggles the most because of the age group. And so we're having a really hard disconnect between what the purpose is so we just turned 6, and she does not at all understand what the purpose of that time is. And within the first 5 to 10 minutes, she's done. She's over it. And so how do I help her? Because I mean, we do the timeline. That's her favorite part. She loves to draw the picture, and she's over it. So how do I help her?
Such a good question. Can I just come back to that one here in just a little bit? We're gonna bring this up with some of the other questions that come up, and you're gonna be totally relieved. Okay. Linda, I called somebody Linda, and it wasn't Linda, it was Kelly. Linda, I'm gonna end the poll and share the results so you can see those.
Okay.
And go ahead, Linda.
So I had a thought though, and if I can get my thoughts straight, I might be able to get it out okay. I like kind of the idea of maybe having 2 classes a week, and maybe you can do a Monday, Wednesday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, whatever works for your schedule. And then the coaches teach the same thing during that class time on Monday and Tuesday, and then on Wednesday and Thursday. And then whatever's opposite for you, maybe we could do the record time then and only the record. And the other explore time stuff can still be before. I don't know if I'm explaining it right. You do explore time every day, but class time only 2 days, and then recording only 2 days. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So that would be one thing that would help us too.
Okay, we're going to get to this also. And what are these other questions that we get to? Thank you, Linda.
Hey, Peter, can I just jump in for a second on that?
I'm glad you did, Tim. I was going to mention, just jump in anytime, because this is your wheelhouse.
I just want to go back to something Peter said at the beginning. And he said, you need to do this how it's best for your family. Now, some of that is constrained by when we've scheduled the times and when other people are doing it. But if your students want to do record time just 2 days a week, then do all 4 records on those 2 days, or make it work how, we put all the materials out there, but if you see a record assignment that you as the parent say, you know what, this one, we're better to spend our time on something else here. They're not getting grades for these. And that's an important thing to remember. We're not as an institution sitting there saying, oh, your child did not do this. And they're whatever. We'll give you the information, but you as a parent can help shape the experience for them. So I just want to remind you of that. And then there was also a comment earlier in the comments about, if we did class time before, we'd be reviewing previous day's material, and then it's harder to remember. That's actually very true. It'll be harder for the kids to remember. That's actually also not a bad thing. The research is really clear on that, that if something's a little bit harder to remember because it's been a little bit of time, then the effort it takes to recall it actually strengthens the memory more than if it had been easy to recall because you just did it. Does that make sense? So that's actually, it's what they call in learning science a desirable difficulty.
Thank you. Were you done, Tim?
Yeah, that's all I have. Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, let's move on to the and we're going to talk more about this, and I'm actually going to give you an example from Tim that he shared about how his wife Irene is using LiftEd in her home. Because yes, you can be creative, and it can look a lot of different ways, not the way that it's just presented to you. And I think that'll help, that'll give permission to some of you who feel like that's helpful to have permission, however you want to do it. Okay, next poll is about, let's see here. Okay, let's stop sharing this one. I did share the results. You all saw the results, didn't you? Yeah, okay, good. All right, this is a huge question. This might make some of you nervous, but I just wanted to throw it out there because we had a discussion about this one as well. And that is, are your littles, especially, I say littles, that's the homework, that's the homeschool term. Are your littles or any of your students, would you prefer to have this in the early PM as opposed to middle of the AM? There is a thought that, you know, if AM can be preserved for some of the more skills oriented subjects that take, I don't know if this is true, but more brain power, that PMs are more of the fun stuff that they do after their break, lunch or whatever. I'm just curious what you think. Would you rather have it in the early PM, or would you rather have it where it's at right now? We wouldn't change it at all if you said to move it an hour earlier or later doesn't make a lot of sense for us. But if enough people said, yeah, we really want this in the afternoon, then we probably consider doing it in the afternoon.
And Peter, I'll add, I see a lot of comments about this topic in the chat. We do get to save the chat and review it, so that's great.
Yeah.
Please also put your answer in the poll. So even if you make a chat, please also respond in the poll.
You know, our Hawaii families would especially appreciate maybe just a couple classes in the afternoon. The problem is it doesn't work that way. You know, a couple classes in the afternoon, it doesn't just so happen that there is an entire group who says, yeah, we all want to be in the afternoon. And so this is more of a question just to see if there's not a high level of interest or a significant majority. And if there's not, then we probably won't do anything differently. And then we'll consider it next year when we're reevaluating how we build classes, so that we do have a couple of early afternoon classes that people can opt into from the very beginning. Which is what, as I'm looking at the results coming in, is what I wish we would have done this year, is just, no, I shouldn't say that. We needed it to be super simple for us this year and a little less flexible for you, just because there were so many other changing variables. That won't be the case in the future. In the future, we'll have lots of different options for families to join at different times. It just wasn't something that we felt was the right idea this year. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results of that one. And you can see that the great majority of you would rather keep the same in the morning. So that's what we'll do. We will explore the idea of having an early afternoon class. We might send out another survey for this specifically, so we can see which students, which time zones, which levels, if there's any patterns there. If 80% of that 24% is all level 1, then that's a totally different scenario that we could evaluate. Okay, next question. This is a class time question. It deals with the frequency of our time together. I'm just curious. I'm curious to know what's too much, what's enough, what's the right fit here. I gotta plug in my. I'm gonna die. There we go. So what's the right frequency of class time? And you'll notice that there are different levels. Boy, this is not right. I don't remember building it this way. That must be on another question. It's okay. Go ahead and answer the question the way it was built. I wish I would have asked what level. I wish I would have asked this question 3 times for level 1, 2, and 3. And we do have another question that gets at the level, so that'll be next. But what's the right frequency for class time? If we provided you the outlines that the coaches use, would you prefer doing the daily discussion on your own sometimes? That's the other question. The coaches have a resource that they use to do those classes. And what if we gave them to you? Would you prefer to do those in your home? That's more of the style of our family schoolers who might miss being the teacher a little bit more and want to be involved that way with their kids a little bit more. And so we just want to understand, how often do you think we should do this? And if there's any interest in you providing your own discussions, maybe getting some families together and doing your discussions together in your home with your little family education center. And we'll talk about that a little bit later too.
Peter, is that something that maybe we could still just have the Zooms available, but also have the outlines available for parents? So then if there's certain days where we just know we can't do that full Zoom class, we could still discuss it as a family.
Absolutely. Yeah, that, in fact, Nate, every day after, Nate can talk with you a little bit more about this process, but every day after class, they don't just start with an outline. They actually get together and they talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and they create a master outline that is kind of the outline that will go along with this course so that parents can have access to them in future years, a week before or 2 weeks before. And in this case, they would have them just in time, right? You would have them just in time to be able to use them and review them like the way the coaches use them. But in future years, we want to have a parent companion or a coach's companion guide that goes along with every course for coaches or parents or family education center leaders who want to do that together in person in their groups. Yeah, it's a really important product that we're producing that you don't even see. Again, we call it the Coach's Companion Guide. And right now the coaches use it, but parents should have access to that too. And we could easily start making those available to you in the next couple of weeks even on the platform. It could just be another parent resource that you see on that dashboard, that lesson dashboard. What do they call that? The lesson landing page, April? I think it's called the lesson landing page, where you see, what you need to do to prepare, any materials that you need to have available for your students. On that page, we could make this companion available to you. It's great. It's a great question. And we'd love for parents to do that, right? That would be awesome. We don't want to do Zoom, actually, just so you know. We think that you can do it a lot better within your families and within these groups that you're forming. One day, the dream would be that we don't do Zoom classes, that all your classes are in person with your families or groups of families. We do know that we'll always be doing Zoom, so I don't want to make anyone nervous. We will be doing Zoom because there will be families who are too far away from a local family education center group, or they just prefer doing it in their home and occasionally on Zoom. Anyway, let me end this poll and you can see the results of this. This one's a little bit more interesting. So most of you want to keep doing it the same way that we've been doing it. You want access to that Zoom class each day, and that's great. And we will. Of course, we wouldn't change it this year. This is more for just to get an idea of how you're feeling about it. If we provide you the outlines, would you use them? Yes, we'd love to do this. 15%. Say that. Yes, we would do it that occasionally. So half of you would use them, which is great. So this definitely tells us that we need to make these available, Nate and James, as we work to expand that offering on the landing page, the lesson landing page. And then about the same percent. Isn't that interesting? About exactly 50% would rarely do this or never do that. And that's the beauty of what we're building. We can build it in a way that gives every family the ability to use it the way that they want to use it. And that just brings us into the next question.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I just wish that you could explain like what your vision again is with the class time. Like I'm an old family schooler and we discuss and we love all the recording. And so I'm old at school at that. And so I'm trying to catch the vision of the class time with my child that's trying it out. And so could you just like maybe reiterate what the vision is of the class part?
Sure, absolutely. Good question. Well, the class it's a flipped class philosophy. So the learning's done before class, right? The learning is done by the teacher or by the parent. And then they come together for this experience where they focus on what they've done to learn. They share what they worked on. They ask questions about that they may have had from the learning experience. We play games to reinforce learning. We do competitions. We do projects in class time. It really is the social component to the independent learning. Our independent learning isn't so independent because you're starting with a group of students and moving through a path together. You're even starting with like a review game that students play together, and you're sharing videos along the way. And so we've even tried to make the independent, what is traditionally independent, we've tried to make that as connected as it possibly can be. But it still doesn't get, you still don't get the kind of connection you get when you're meeting together with other students face to face, sharing, reinforcing. Nate would probably be the best person to jump in here. There are 5 objectives of that class. And Nate, do you want to share a little bit more? You want to share what those 5 objectives are? That would be helpful for everyone to understand. And maybe parents, you could even say, well, this is what it does for me. And this is why I do it. Just because we have objectives doesn't mean they have to be your objectives, right? Great question. Karina, is it Kyrina?
It's Karina.
I get it wrong every time.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Karina is one of these founding families from family school, by the way. So,
Well, and I'm loving the first explore time. It's going fabulous. That's really fun. And so I'm excited to see as the coaches get better at doing it, that the vision of what you're saying will come through, because I think it's great for certain kids. I love it. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Nate, did you want to add anything else there? Tim, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, just one thing. I know some of you, the Zoom is essential. I'm seeing that come through in the comments. And that's actually why it's worth paying for this, because you don't have to drive somewhere else, you know, to go meet with other families and things like that. I just want to explain that really, Karina, did I say that right? You asked, what's the purpose? What's the vision for it? Think of a heartbeat. When you see a heartbeat in a hospital on that monitor, right? It's got the line and then the spike, and then the line and then the spike. That's the heartbeat, right? That's a metaphor for the heartbeat of our learning in this program is really, think of that flat part, and the metaphor doesn't work perfectly, forgive me, but that's the individual preparation that a student does. That's the mental effort that they have to put in. They're learning the concepts, coming into contact with them, exploring them, trying to figure them out. And then they've got this spike that is gathering. So it's like independent learning gathering, independent learning gathering. And isn't that what we get in the gospel? In a home-centered, church-supported learning environment that our prophet is teaching us so much about. We study at home. We have to have personal time with concepts, because it's in here that we transform, right? That we become someone different through the learning. But we also need punctuations of gathering to share with others, to be supported by others, to deepen, and to do things we couldn't do on our own. There are some elements of learning, especially when we get into talking about producing with our learning, that are facilitated in a group. And some of them are facilitated in an in-person group in a way they never could be on Zoom as well, right? And so we do the best we can with Zoom, and it's the right option for a lot of families for a lot of reasons. But just, I want you to think of that heartbeat where we've got individual learning punctuated by gathering, and we see that pattern everywhere. It works so well. BYU Pathway Worldwide works that way. Independent learning punctuated by gathering to teach one another. If you go to BYU Idaho, their learning model is prepare, then teach one another, right? Then ponder, improve on your own. So it's that preparing, meeting. And that just gives you the richness of different environments in which the students can encode that information, can practice retrieving it and applying it in different contexts. And so I hope that helps share the vision, that heartbeat. I think of that as the heartbeat of our learning.
Oh, you need to be talking more, Tim. Thank you.
May I add a follow-up to that?
Yes.
I love that idea of heartbeat and the analogy with, you know, preparing to study the gospel on our own, study other subjects on our own, and then gather together socially. I just want to add that as a homeschooler, I've seen a lot of value in having really well-trained teachers guide discussions and actually teach. So I don't know if that's part of your plan, but I would love to have that be a part of it. So not just get together and discuss and share what my kids do, but I've loved Empower Hour last year. You had some really outstanding teachers who would pick a principle, turn it around, ask questions, and actually teach. So I hope that'll continue. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Marilee. And I'll answer that it is part of the plan for every hour to have a place where the coach will dive a little deeper and reinforce what was taught. But it's not a big piece. It's a piece, but it will never be the piece, because we want students to learn that this is the time where they share, where they reteach, where they connect, where they discuss what they're working on, or when we work together. If it's too much teaching, then there's not enough focus on doing. And if we're learning and not doing, then we're not becoming, right? There's this doing component that's so important that we haven't captured in previous years with this live experience that we need to do a better job at. And so our focus is going, and Tim's helping us bring in some of this production-based learning that will take the bulk of our time, the actual doing or sharing what they've done, as opposed to teaching deeper concepts. Marilee, they're going to get a lot more additional concepts to study and learn in the platform using these, even these hotspot interactions that are going to be available here very soon. And none of you have experienced that yet. We call it explore time, but they're not exploring right now. They're just doing what we say do on this path. The reason we call it explore time is because there's going to be tremendous opportunity for students to go down rabbit holes and to dive deeper and to learn more content that they're interested in. It's not required, but we're going to incentivize them. So some simple gamification. In fact, at one point, we're gonna have so much optional material on the path that we'll say, hey, to complete this lesson, you have to do X number of points in the optional area and X number of points in the required, right? You got to finish the required stops, but you have to go and explore down these paths. And so a lot of the additional learning will actually happen on the platform as well. You just don't see it right now.
Can I add one thing to that, Peter? Because
sure.
Marilee, it's Marilee, right? That's how I say it.
Marilee.
That's a really good point. One of the oldest ways of describing what good education is, and this is famously quoted, and it's attributed to lots of different people, is you say real true education is you and pick your mentor on either end of a log, right? I'm sitting on this end of the log, the mentor sitting on the other end of the log, and we're talking, right? That's me and Socrates sitting across a log. That's true education, right? That's getting to the heart of what you're saying, is that a live teacher who is careful and trained and insightful and good at questioning and that Socratic dialogue and drawing out of the student, right? There's really no replacement for that element. That has to be done live. It has to be done responsively. And that's absolutely true. One of the things with the LiftEd model is that we actually depend on parents to do some of that. And I realize that that's hard for some parents because they say, I'm not trained, right? And my kids don't like listening to me anyway, because I'm always talking to them. But we actually have some plans for improving that, for actual parent courses on LiftEd to help teach you to do that, and sending you questions to ask your students in conversation, because there's no real way at scale. This is the problem that education always runs into. If the best education is you and Socrates on either end of a log, how do we pay a Socrates for every student? That's the central business model problem of education. And so we can do some of that in our Zoom classes, but it's with 70 people, right? So only a few students get that really personal other end of the log opportunity.
If I may respond to him, thank you. I don't know how you did it last year, but some of your teachers could do that, like Empower Hour. And so I'm thinking, if you train your new coaches, even if they are young, that these can be taught and trained, and there's like methods for teaching that discussion. But thank you for what you just said, because I agree that interaction is very valuable. And I don't know about everyone else, but that's why I come. I have all day with my kids. We're always talking about stuff, but I loved the Empower Hour that happened. And I know that in person, it probably would have been better, but just the thought for you to consider as you train your coaches, you know?
Yeah. And I want to just finish that up with 3 quick points. So one is the coaches will get better at that. Absolutely. That's one. The second one is parents can get better at that. There's a lot of parents on this call who don't feel confident in that, and they can get better at it. And our platform will help them get better at it by sending them question prompts, right? And topics to discuss. And then the third one is in-person gatherings for those that's right for, gives your children other mentors. It allows other parents to play some of that role too. And then finally, I'd say as your kids get older into middle school and high school, in the next couple of years is coming the fact that we'll have accreditation add-ons for LiftEd, middle and high school LiftEd. And that add-on will include things like sessions with live teachers, right? Coaching sessions where they, just like we do with HS Online right now, where they can get together with a live teacher and really be on the other end of a log with a professional teacher. And those will be accreditation add-ons for middle and high school. So I think we've covered that enough, but I didn't want to lose that point because it's such a true point in education. Thanks, Marilee.
Thank you. Thank you both. That's really helpful. Okay, let's move on to our next poll. This one is about level 1 learning. Specifically, I'm just curious how you feel. If you have a level 1 learner, if you could answer this one for level 1 only, this would be nice to know. Is 50 minutes too long for level 1 students? Should we make level 1 just 40 minutes or 30 minutes? We've got some feedback that our level 1 learners are getting burned out pretty quick. Now that has a lot to do with the coach, of course, and how well they can keep the attention of the level 1 kindergarten first grade student. We're starting to think that it's possibly just needs to be modified a little bit and shortened and condensed.
The poll can't be completed if you answered no to the first question. Do you want us to hypothetically answer the second question for fun?
Oh, just if yes. No, I'd actually rather just, if that answer could just be answered by those who have a level 1 student, that would be preferable.
Yeah, you can't hit submit the way that question was worded. If I hit no on number 1, I can't hit submit without answering number 2. If it's necessary, required to hit submit.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I should have had another response that said 50 minutes is what you're saying. Yeah.
Is level 1 just kindergarten and first grade?
So everybody who's answered no is answering question 2 is what you're saying. Is that right?
It is required to answer to hit submit.
Yeah. Oh, not a good question then. It's kind of botched.
Level 1 also includes second graders that are 7 years old. To the person who just asked that question.
Yeah, that's right. If they turn 7 this year, then they're level 1. So it includes 5 to 7 year olds. If they turn 7 next year, they're in. Sorry. It includes any who are 5 and 6. A level 2 includes anyone who turns 7 this year. So it's 5 and 6. And if they're 7, then they've actually opted for it. And we've changed them manually. So no 7-year-olds in level 1, except for those that have asked to be in level 1.
Pacific Coast and Atlantic Coast is only level 1, level 2 together.
Yeah, that's right. A couple classes are, that's the class experience. That's right. That's a good point. There are 2 of them. Central and Mountain have level 1 classes that are specific to level 1.
Hey, Peter, we've had some requests to send these poll questions out to those who had to jump off early, etc. Especially with a question like this where we need to redo the question. Maybe it's worth sending that out in a burst to everyone afterward.
Yeah, yep. I was planning on sending this Zoom recording with a crowd signal, just a standard survey like we normally use. But this helps just to get some information from this live group that we can move forward with. There's a map there. Okay, so I'll stop sharing that. It looks like most feel that it's too long, and we could probably condense it to something. Only 29% say that it's the right length. So we probably will. If I had to guess, we probably will move it to 40 minutes and just see how that feels to families, and if it's generally a better fit. Okay.
Are there plans to separate the East Coast classes eventually, or would this level 2s go shorter as well?
No, we would keep those the same time because you have level 2s in your class. We would just keep those, and this would only apply to the individual level 1, specific level 1 classes that we have in Central Time and Mountain Time. But you can always jump off, right? Parents, you can always jump off, and I don't suppose I brought that up well enough during one of those previous questions. You can join this Zoom whenever you'd like, and as often as you like. Tim mentioned this. Tim's family, they use this as a reward. They don't join the Zoom class. I think they join maybe once a week. Tim, is that right? And then you don't do explore time in the morning. You do explore time in the afternoon.
So we just
do it unless they get everything else done or something like that.
And this is just an example of how you can adapt. My wife and I had a 3-hour conversation the other night about how this is working for us personally, and it'll be different for each family. My kids, it's ruining their morning. You know, they're brain dead a bit after all of this. And so then trying to do math and language arts is really hard. So for us, what we're doing is they do all the other stuff. My wife does a lot of well-educated heart work with them in the morning, and math and language arts, and just a lot of beautiful homeschooling stuff we've always done. And then if they get all that done, well, then they get to do explore time. And so, yeah, they miss out on the quiz with everybody else, but they also get to see everybody else's video responses because everyone's already recorded. So that's kind of cool. And then we're doing the Zooms just once a week on Thursday. We're trying that right now. We told our kids, we'll try that and let's see how it feels. And if we need to, we'll go to 2 times a week on the Zoom, or we'll just adjust. So we're just experimenting and trying.
Yeah, and I see people here on the chat that are saying he loves it. And he could go longer than 50 minutes if he had to. And every child is just different, right? That comes back to the start of this conversation and the experience that I had and what I discovered about homeschooling, that everybody's unique, right? Every single family is unique, and we all know this. It didn't take a research project to figure that out, but we are building this to be able to be used in a way that's right for your family. And there's no requirement for you to do it a specific way. Okay, math. I'm just curious, how many of you are using iMaster Math curriculum? Some of you may not even know about it. This is only just to help us understand like the ratio of families and how many families we have using iMaster Math. We're going to send a survey out just about iMaster Math here pretty soon. Carrie, are you still with us?
I'm here, Peter.
Carrie, is there anything that you would like to add about iMaster Math and how to share feedback effectively? You can share your screen if you wanted to share your screen and show them anything.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, this is Carrie Nielsen. She's the project manager for Math.
I would like to share my screen.
Hey, Carrie, shut your video camera off because your bandwidth is struggling there where you're at. Now share your screen. You should be better. Interesting.
Thanks, Peter. Yes, I'm having a little technical difficulties with my computer. I'm sharing my screen right now, and I'm sharing a level 4 lesson. And what I'd like to add is that when you see technical problems in the lesson, I'd love for you to click the More tab And I'd love for you to click report an issue right here. And right here, you can simply just type in what you see the problem is. Again, I'm looking for technical issues here, like maybe an image is wrong, or maybe there's a wrong word. I don't know. But it's very specific technical things that we can fix quickly.
You could give them a sandwich if you wanted.
If you would like to share other feedback with me, I would love for you to email me directly. If you have ideas about content, or you think something is worded awkwardly, and any comments like that, I'd love for you to email me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my email in the chat, and again, reach out to me. We're constantly fixing things. We're constantly trying to make it better. But use that format to talk to me and to let me know what your feedback is.
Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, and it looks like it's quite a high percentage, much higher than what I thought. We're using the iMasterMath curriculum, so we're going to get some really good feedback across the entire group. And then there are a lot of family schoolers that are using it as well. 31% of this group alone are using iMasterMath, so that's a good slice. There are 15% who don't know what it is. iMasterMath is a new K-8 math program that we've been working on for the last year, and the first unit of 5 is now live in the family school. Each of you have a family school account at if Tim or Carrie, if you want to just type the link in the chat. Each of you have a complimentary account, a free full access account to family school. It comes with your membership in LiftEd, and that's where we have math, and that's where we'll have the Coming Language Arts program as well. We'll use it there. We'll provide it there so that families can use it and get a lot of feedback, and then eventually we'll run it through the studio the same way we do all the other content, and we'll film videos and put it on a path and bring it into LiftEd. We feel very confident that math will be there next fall in LiftEd, and we hope that language arts will be there too. I love language. All right, let me stop sharing that one and let's go to the next question. We've got 2 more. This is the second to last question. Somebody want to find out who's on? You want to help me there? Tim, let me make you a
yeah, if you can make me a co-host.
Yeah, and then you can kind of mute people if they're looks like I got it. Okay, here's the next question. Would you be interested in parent training? There are a lot of parents who've been doing this for a long time, and especially this Foundations Week, we realize there are a lot of families that don't understand what these foundations, what the foundational methods are, and even the philosophy of the school. We're probably assuming too much, and it's not helpful to some of you parents who are new to this. We do have a lot of families and parents who are new to this program this year, which is great. That's exactly what we wanted. We wanted a good group of families that are new, but we're probably not supporting you very well. Go ahead and just answer these couple questions about parent training. We want to know if that would be helpful to you to have a regular parent training webinar, just like this, where we invite some of our long-term families who really understand homeschooling, but who also understand American Heritage School methods and the vision for the future of what we're doing, because those are all important things to bring together. And Angie Blatt has offered to help with that. She would do a fantastic job. We've got a couple others who could help us run those.
Can I hop in for a second, Peter?
Sure, yeah.
The tutorial that you sent out, the quick tutorial about showing parents where to view the readings for the next lessons, little trainings like that would be hugely helpful just on the functionality of LiftEd.
Ooh, great idea. Love that. Yeah, so you don't have to take a whole hour out of your day to work around your schedule, and you can just watch it whenever you want. That's a great idea. Yeah, that's a really good idea. We should come up with a list of whatever those bite-sized trainings would be, and have a few of those same people record short videos.
And it's much shorter time on your end too, but makes a huge impact so quickly.
Yeah, it's a fantastic idea. Thanks, Annie.
And can I second that, because we're talking about the iMaster Math, and I'm thinking I've never used that, and then I get on here, I click the link, and I'm like, yes, you have, because clearly we've done things on there, and I'm like, oh, I've just been calling it math. I didn't know that. I thought it was something completely separate. We have used it. So if we had those little videos that we could refer back to, because I'm forgetful, you know, she's number 6. I've lost some brain cells along the way, and you know, and I was in a really, really horrible car accident a year ago, so my short-term memory is long gone. So having those things to be able to refer back to would be really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Hey, Carrie, is iMaster Math branded that way on the site? And if it's not, we should, that card should say iMaster Math.
I guess on the family school site, it is not branded as iMaster Math, only on the lesson itself.
Yeah, yeah. It should be. So let's talk with James about changing that card, if you could. It looks like, you know, I think it's a combination of those two things. Annie, that's a really good idea. And then also perhaps a monthly webinar where people can get on and ask questions. That's the benefit of a live webinar, is that we're not assuming knowledge, whereas when we're producing a video, we're assuming some understanding. We try not to, but we always do when you produce a video, no matter how good it is. So maybe a training series of training videos, tutorials, you know, combined with a monthly webinar would be the right fit here for parent training.
Peter, remember too, you've got lots of new people that are coming in from year to year. We've been doing this for a while, and so we get on these Zooms and hear, you know, the same questions over and over again.
Yeah.
That little quick short training videos would be really helpful to refer everyone off. Like, here's your start page if you're new to this, and then the monthly trainings maybe be something new or something that help us as parents or as teachers.
Yeah.
And then maybe a new parent training every once in a while, and just say, hey, new parents, or if you've got a questions specifically about this topic, then we're going to offer a time for you to ask the questions directly. That would be super helpful.
Yeah, that's perfect. You know, it makes me think, why aren't we using our platform for parent training? We could have a parent training course with little videos, right? Like you're talking about, and a table of contents for, okay, these are the methods, and this is the philosophy, these are the message, this is the mission, these are just practical tips and logistics, and building a course and putting them on a path and doing a follow-up class, right? Monthly, perhaps, to discuss the things that you're learning independently. Yeah, it's flipped class for training, huh, Tim?
That heartbeat.
Yeah. All right, last question. And this one, it's an important question. And it's one that came up, it's one that's come up a few times. You're experiencing a course right now that we didn't write. We produced the course, but we didn't write the course. And it's called Who I Really Am. And we really want to understand how you feel it's connecting with you and your family. It's our first foray into taking another organization's content and producing it in a student facilitated format. I've got so much curriculum in my office from other organizations, and there's so many good organizations out there producing such good content. The thought is LiftEd could be a platform for them too. And in so doing, it could be a blessing to our families and to our students, like Who I Really Am. But we don't want, we want to be careful that what we produce is of the standard and that fits the mission of American Heritage School, that when people experience it, they don't feel like it's off-brand, that it's not quite right, that it's not connecting. I'm not saying that about Who I Really Am. It's our first experience, and I want to find out how you feel about the experience with Who I Really Am right now. knowing that this is an example of an organization that kindly donated their curriculum and allowed us to produce it for you and make it available to you. Just because of that doesn't make it right, though. Okay, so just want to know how you're feeling about that.
Really quick, Peter, two things. Number one, in the poll, again, you guys, we have the same issue here where you have to select something for each of the levels to be able to submit the question. So I think for this data gathering right here, whatever you pick, just pick it across the levels. If you know, it's not perfect data, but it'll give us some good data. And then the other thing is, if you're a little confused about who I really am and what that is, it's the lesson they've been doing this last week that has the crocodile Respa and the eagle in rock, and it's this character education through the animals. That's the program. That's actually from an official third-party program called Who I Really Am. They have much more than what we're giving you in these 2 weeks, this 2-week growth unit, but we've just produced 1 unit of it for you. So it's the songs, the animal stories, the tale of hope that you've been reading. That's what Who I Really Am is.
Yeah, that's great. That's good. Thanks for that. Thanks for that clarification. Yeah, you can't submit without answering them all. There probably was some setting in this poll where I could have not required these questions. I didn't see it when I was building them, but I have a feeling it was there. All right, that's enough data there that you can kind of get an idea of how families are feeling about this. Now, I don't know by level because of the way it was built, but at least I know that more than half of you, more than 80%, about 80% of you, more than 80% feel like it's a good addition, right? Or it's perfect. So that's really helpful. That's really helpful to know. We'll ask the same question in another survey, like Tim said, and get a little bit closer to just making sure that we're on point with this particular course. I will say that I wish we hadn't started with it. I think it's a wonderful foundational course, leadership, but I think for our level 3 learners, after foundations, moving into Who I Really Am, it's not catching them quite as well as what it would if we could jump into a history unit or a science unit or a world studies. And this isn't my opinion or an assumption here. This is feedback that I've received from some of our level 3 families that feel like, and it's true. I think some of the songs that we get in Who I Really Am, they're great for level 1, level 2, but perhaps for level 3, they might feel like they're a little low. But we'll get there. Next unit up is Africa World Studies. It's a new unit that we've just developed, and it's a great. We're really excited to share that one with you. It's all about cultural. It's all about the people and the cultures and the foods and the entertainment and sports and clothing and culture and traditions of a country or a continent. And so it's pulling out all those pieces of our geography course that was written in family school and really focusing in on the human studies, the world studies of that particular continent, as opposed to the political and the physical geography that other course covers so well. I don't have anything else for you. I do have a meeting in 8 minutes, so we've got 8 minutes. If there's just questions that you want to ask, we don't have a lot of time for that, but would love to just open it up to you. We got through what we needed to here. Did I share the results of that last one with you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Can I ask, and I said it in the chat, but I just wanted to touch, I know you have your meeting, but the whole reason that we joined AHS with this particular program is because the impression that we had was that it was going to be more gospel centered and more of a foundation with that. And we're just not seeing that yet. And I know it's super early in the year and all of that. And is there going to be more of that? It's in the near future or the future of the school year or anything? I'm trying to integrate that, the Who I Really Am. I'm trying to find ways to integrate gospel principles into that. And it's not hard to do, but I was just wondering, can I hope to see that in the future?
Not really. I mean, I think that for us, the connection to a principle is, I shouldn't say that. I should say there is an opportunity where you will have where your children will be able to dive a little bit deeper into the spiritual connection. But for us, we really do want to make that spiritual connection to principle short and sweet and powerful, and not like it's, and we've tried it several ways when it comes to making those connections for children. And we found that the retention, the impact of the connection is much better when it's short and sweet in this particular format. In family school, boy, you can spend an hour on that gospel connection if you'd like to. And that's a great place to go, because these lessons were all built off of family school lessons. So if you want more of that, I would say pull up the family school lesson that connects to this particular student facilitated lesson in LiftEd, and you can pull in a lot of that material. Now we are going to create a hotspot for reason and relate too. So there'll be a 3-minute, it's always about a 3 to 4 minute video, and it's intentional. For the older ones, maybe a little bit longer, but we don't like to get outside of 5 minutes. I don't think we ever get outside of 5 minutes for the reason and relate video. We want the academics to be strong and excellent and be a focus of that experience. We want the principle to be something that's meaningful and genuine and strong. And if we go on too long, it starts to feel a little bit like it's too much, or like it's even disingenuous in its approach. So I acknowledge that that's what you're asking for. We've tried it, we've done it, and we felt like it's just in this particular format of student facilitated learning, it's too much. Now, each research video and each reason and relate video will have a place where children can go explore deeper concepts and more ideas. So they will get it. They just won't get it from the teacher. Does that make sense? So maybe in a reason and relate on symbiosis, we're studying the relationship that animals have on each other, and we're studying mutualism and commensalism and parasitism. And the deeper dive will be, oh, let's go explore symbiosis that's mutualistic in this honeybee relationship with the flower. Oh, and let's jump a little bit further and go to this beehive and bee colonies video. And then let's go and learn a little bit about honey production. And you can see how you can keep going down this rabbit hole and learning. The same thing will happen in the reason and relate. Instead of just the teacher sharing a nice connection of how we also need to be aware of the relationships that we have with each other, and we read a scripture and a quote from President Nelson, we might link off to, in a hotspot video, we might link off to the friend and read the Shiny Penny Friend for a level 1 learner. It might not be in the actual video, but they could go listen to that video, right? They can go, optionally, they can go a little bit deeper and spend more time there. So yes and no. I shouldn't have said no. I should have said yes and no. It's a good question. Thank you, Cheryl. Or, yeah, Cheryl. Diana, and then Charlie.
Hi, Peter. Okay. Oh, sorry. Do you say Charlie or Diana?
Oh, that's okay. Both of you can go. So I said Diana, then Charlie, but
Diana, you go. Oh, wait.
Okay, so I wasn't sure about the pre-reading. Does it show up on my little guy's screen, or is that just something that shows up on my account and I need to read it to him the night before?
Yeah, occasionally, and this is it's not as common as what you think. Most of the reading is recommended reading. We're in a unit right now where there's some required reading. The videos don't make a lot of sense unless you read. So there are some times where required reading is provided, but that's not typical, just so you know that. Now, whether it's on the student landing page or the teacher one, I don't know. Tim, do you know? I know that it's on the parent lesson landing page, but I don't know if it's on the students. It is.
I believe it's on the students as well, but it's meant there to be on the parents. It actually shows up on your dashboard. Every lesson that's coming, you can just link to the lesson prep. Right now it is on the students, or it has been, because the students just kind of go to that same lesson landing page as well. But, and Peter, that's actually something we need to discuss. If we're going to take children straight to the map in the future, then we need to,
yeah, so you can see it here on your dashboard, but what Tim's saying is you can also go into, you can also go directly into the lesson. Let's see, dashboard. And this is the lesson landing page, and you'll see it here in this pre-lesson reading, but the students also see that. So if I switch to I sign out and switch to my daughter Olivia, that she can see on her lesson or her courses, she'll also see that same recommended reading for that lesson there. She starts it right there. Pretty soon we're actually going to start lessons from the dashboard, just so you know. And I was hoping it would be updated today. They worked on it, and I thought they finished it. Let me just make sure I'm not. It might be because mine. Yeah, this is all going to be designed differently, so students can just start from their dashboard. It'll say join. It'll take them directly to the path. But I can't show that to you today. I should have had that as one of the improvements. So the calendar will actually be a lot more functional. You probably wonder why I have a 4 p.m. Explore time. This is a custom group where we get together every day and review the lesson for the next day. And so that's why I have my daughter in here with that particular lesson. Oh, it does. It is taking you directly there now, Tim.
Okay.
So it just doesn't have the same, it doesn't have the design, but students can go straight to the path from their calendar now.
Yeah, so you can join straight from the calendar, etc. What we're saying there is it used to take students to the lesson landing page, just like parents see, and then they had to click on that little purple arrow to start. And what we're finding is students don't really need to or don't really read this. They just want to jump straight into the pathway, right? And so when they click on explore time from their calendar or from the dashboard or anywhere, it would just take them straight into, if you want to click there, Peter, on that purple circle, it would just take them directly to here, because that's what students are trying to do. They're trying to get there. And the other stuff is really for the parents. Now we'll need to make a way that kids can get to that landing page, especially for level 3s, because they may need to access some handouts or something. But
they'll just access it through their My Courses, you know, they'll what's up for today, my growth, rest of the lesson, they'll click on it and they can see this material. Okay, I can't remember the name. It was that'll be our last question for this one, for this webinar.
It was me. Thank you.
Yeah,
okay, so it's a really simple question, but my kids love the Zoom videos. That's awesome. And I loved the aspect. I wanted to do LiftEd because family members could join on those videos. I can't figure out, is there a link that you can send to people, or is that something you're working on?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. It was one of the, I didn't go through all of those top 10 things that we're working on, but having parents be able to leave messages for their children on the lesson, that is not, that's very primitive right now. And what you can do right now is go into that lesson landing page and click on the button in the lesson landing page. It'll say Golden Nugget, and you can click on it and open up. It'll give you a prompt and you can record a video. The problem is those videos aren't landing on the student's page. And so families are leaving messages and they're not ending up on the student's path that day. But that was supposed to be fixed yesterday. I have a feeling that'll be available today, or well, it'll be available by Monday for sure. So in the future though, it needs to be easier. And so we'll be sending you text messages. You'll get one text message a day, and it'll say, the prompt for tomorrow is this, and it'll be a link in your text, and you can click on the link, it'll open up your camera, and you can just leave a message whenever you'd like. And you'll be able to set that, I don't want to receive that text, or I want to receive that text every other day, those kinds of things. But eventually it'll be a lot more simple. You don't have to go into the platform and record it from your computer. You can just record it from your cell phone.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Can I ask one other question?
Sure.
So with the quizzes, since we missed the first whole week, the foundations week, our points are so low. And so my kids is the only way, they're like, I'm never gonna be first. And I'm like, we can go back and do all of those, but is there a way, I don't know, do points ever restart? Or if we just do it twice a week, will they just always be 2,000 points behind everyone?
Well, for starters, I didn't know that anybody could see your points other than you. I don't think that's.
We can see all the winner. At least I can see everybody's points.
Are you talking, Charlie, just on the review game?
Yeah, just the review. Yeah, where they get first, second, and third.
Oh, review game. Sorry, I was.
Yeah, review game.
So those reset each day. That's a new game. Every day is a new game.
But it does
And
reset each day.
yeah, that has nothing to do with what content they may have missed from previous days. That in fact, students don't even earn points for completing the review game. It's just a Kahoot game built into our platform. It's very similar to Kahoot, and you get points in the game experience for answering correctly and answering quickly. So the faster you answer, the more points you get for the game, and accuracy is awarded as well. And then at the end of that game, whoever has the highest number of points and they'll get there eventually.
Oh, I know. I'm good with it. I just thought, are we going to be 5,000 points behind because I missed the first week? So that helps.
I think she's actually talking about the little points they get as they go along the path and take the quizzes.
Yeah.
So are you talking about the points that they earn for completing a lesson at the end?
Like at the end of the lesson, it says how many points they earned over their little journey.
I don't know. All I know is we get in and they have like at 500 and then the winners are all at like 3,000. Like, how did that happen? So I don't know. I'll try and pay more attention this week.
Yeah, you're talking about the review game. And the review game is not, it's just a way to, it's just a game. And there's no points awarded in a review game. It's just that's how we crown a champion. And again, there'll be a setting pretty soon. If you want them to opt out of that experience altogether, they can. It's really just for fun. It has nothing to do with the points that they're earning on the path each day that you can incentivize as a parent. You can say, once you've earned this many points, then we'll do this, or I'll get you the cleats that you want for soccer practice, or whatever it is, right? You can kind of gamify it and use those points to motivate. But the points that you're earning the points that you're seeing in a review game at the beginning of the lesson, you're not earning those points. It's just for the review game and then they're done. Just like a Kahoot quiz, if you're familiar with how Kahoot works.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just say one more thing about that, and also with some things I'm seeing in the chat here? Yeah, there'll be an opportunity to opt out of the daily review games. I would highly recommend that you consider not opting out. If it's not right for you, then that's fine. But I want to tell you why it's there, because there is a purpose for it bigger than just being a fun start to the lesson. So when students are learning, one of the key things in learning is recall practice. That's scientifically proven better than anything else in learning science, that just the act of recalling something cements that memory, encodes it better, and makes it easier to retrieve next time. That's why you can remember things quickly that you frequently have to remember, because it's called the recency effect. You can bring it back up. And so when we quiz these students, we're working on the algorithm for where that pre-game quiz comes from, right? That I just lost the word. What's it called, Peter? Not the quiz, the review game.
Yeah.
Pretty soon it'll start pulling randomly, actually not randomly, but it'll seem random, from even longer ago lessons in an algorithm that cycles back key knowledge at the time when we know they're starting to forget it, right? And so it'll bring it back up and cause them to have to recall that information. And that's going to keep that learning fresh in a lot of ways. And there's tons of research on this. You can go look at, if you want a really good one, it was mentioned before, go listen to this book. There's a great audiobook version of it. It's one of the best readable compendiums of learning science. It's called Make It Stick. I will warn you, there is one bit of strong language in the book. It's in a quote. They're sharing a scenario from police training, and they do use a bit of strong language just one time. So I'll just give that disclosure. So you're careful listening to an audiobook around your kids if you choose to, but it goes through the learning science really well. So if it's not right for you and the competitive part doesn't feel like what you want, that's fine. But I want you to know why it's there. And that's one of the purposes for which it's there, is to bring that recall practice back, because we know from learning science that what you can learn depends on what you already know. You learn new things by connecting them to things you already know, connecting to your prior knowledge. So what this does at the very beginning of the lesson is it activates their prior knowledge so that it's right there in working memory, and it's ready and it's fresh and recalled to make new connections to. So they'll actually learn the new lesson in a different way having just recalled previous information than they would if they hadn't just recalled that previous information. So I just want you to have eyes open. If you choose not to do it, that's fine. Your kid's going to be fine. But by doing it, they'll actually have a bit better chance making connections.
Well, thank you, Tim. And thank you, everybody, for being here. I want to just end with one little bit of information that I forgot to share. And that is Miss Nellie, who's been sharing the reason and relate, who's been making that connection to principle and to the restored gospel. She's not the only one who will be doing that. You're going to hear from Angie Blatt pretty soon. She's going to be one of our reason and relate teachers, and very likely one of our teachers here on campus. He's a substitute teacher, and I see him all the time. And he's a sealer at the Mount Timpanogos Temple. He'll be our grandfatherly figure for reason and relate. But he's just such a warm, great man. Who will be contributing some of those as well. So you will have a variety of reason and relate teachers as well that you'll experience from. Each unit will be a new. Each unit you'll be able to watch videos from a rotation of teachers. I think we'll probably have 3 this year that kind of rotate through. But look for that coming, not this next week, but the week after as well. All right, everybody. It's been great to be with you as always, and thanks for being here with us live. That's very, very helpful. And we'll touch base soon. Okay. All together now, as Nate would say. Okay. Bye now.